Writing on Air.
Welcome to people, especially if you haven't been here before. It's really lovely to see new people here at Chapel FM. So thanks for coming along this evening to Writing on Air. It's our 7th year doing this. There's about, how many programs? 60 programs over 4 or 5 days. All these live events in the evenings. But we're really delighted tonight to welcome you guys, with particularly Caitlin hosting tonight's Queer House Party. So, yeah, we do masses of writing stuff here, lots of spoken word. If you want to get involved in any of it after tonight, just have a word with me after this. But without any more from me, Queer House Party with Caitlin McKenna.
Hello and welcome. It's the first ever Queer House Party. When we were talking to Peter about putting together a few events, I knew that one of the ones I really wanted to do was to bring together a showcase of new, emerging, existing talent in the North that some people may just not have had the chance to see before, whether it's based on location or whether you're restricted to online events or whether you're not online at all and you just don't hear of these events. I figured this was the time to bring them all together and introduce you to each other, because you're going to absolutely love these poets, I promise. So, in light of recent events, including the Colorado shooting, I think events like these that highlight marginalized voices are more and more important than ever. We need our voices to be heard. We need an outlet for the emotion, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's angry, whether it's passionate. We need an outlet for it. And we cannot let them forget that we are people too, with thoughts and feelings and voices and a will to live that's stronger than anything they have ever seen. We need to let them know that we're here and we want to be here. So, in the nature of that, I'm going to introduce you to some poets. They all identify queer in some ways. They may have chosen to disclose that with you from the bios. They may talk a little bit about that. They might not. That's their right. Some of the content tonight might be difficult to hear. Once again, it's up to the artist to utilize trigger warnings if they feel that they're appropriate. But just so you know, there may be talk of self-harm, suicide, explicit sexual references tonight, and there will be some swear words, so please be prepared for all of that. We are live broadcast on the radio, and we are live on YouTube right now, and I know there's a few people watching, including one poet who couldn't make it here tonight, so we'd really like to thank them all for tuning in, and hopefully they enjoy this. Please be respectful. Afterwards, tell the poets you like them, find them on social media, go to their events, buy their books. They are incredible and they deserve all the support ever. So, I'm going to start tonight with a sacrificial poem that should exemplify my thoughts on the recent attack on our identities and our very being. And then I'm going to introduce you to like a really great performer, so keep listening. Bring back poetic rage. Bring back poetic rage, grab your banners and your notebooks, arm yourselves with your pens. Bring back devastating metaphors that call for every castle wall to be torn down by the very hands that built them up. Bring back similes for hauling the stones away as they return and find gravestones in their place. They'll find the title scratched in. Stubs of broken nails embedded into plaques. Bring back those lines brimming with onomatopoeias for smashing them down, crushing them into a powder, and filling capsules for them to take with their tea and their omegas and their vitamin D, so that they will become a walking memorial for the very deaths their actions wrought. Bring back the lines that press, that push, and that rest. Lay the lines on their chest and watch them struggle to catch their breath, just as we have been doing. Bring back the anger, the hatred, the vitriol. No audience may go undisturbed, no stage with peace undisrupted. Bring back the poems that make shivers seem like whispers compared to the tremors that awaits. Let them know we are coming and we are filled with hate. Bring back poetic rage. is my extreme pleasure to introduce you to the first performer of tonight. They are fresh from a cabaret night in Manchester. Stevie is the author of Ben Keat book, Lost Decades. I am absolutely delighted to be part of the Queer Collective with Stevie. They are an amazing performer, an incredible talent. They perform all across the north, and we have them here in Chapel Arts Centre right now. So please welcome Stevie.
No, it's on now. I wrote a poem called The Other Line as 27 migrants drowned in the English Channel. And it was written off the back of an epigraph from Zoe Gardner, which says, "Dehumanization is not a line, it's a circle. To leave migrant children adrift at sea, you cannot see them as human, but neither can you be human." And at the time, the two migrants who survived said they'd called the British, and they said call the French, and the French said call the British. And yesterday, the inquiry found that exactly that happened, and the British and the French argued about who was responsible as one by one, each migrant drowned. It's called The Other Line. All I want for Christmas is an inflatable dinghy from Facebook Marketplace. One the kids have used a lot, just big enough to squeeze in 27 Tory MPs. They will say, "Why me? Why not someone else?" And I will shrug and say, "It's just a lottery, an accident of birth. Could just as easily have been a migrant." And I'm not selfish. I'm going to buy a phone for every one of you. The ones young children use that have only 2 numbers to call in an emergency. I'm going to float you out to sea. Think of it like a mirror, stretched out as far as you can see, or at least for the circumference of 27 people holding hands. 26, 25. I'll be listening to your call. I'll be listening to all of your calls, your screams, your fear, your silence. And I'll hang up, telling you to ring the other line. But I'm not a cruel human being. I'll broadcast the other line on Twitter so you can say goodbye. Think of it like a mirror to your voters. See the reflection of their indifference. Think it could have been someone else. While you've been doing all that, I have painted 3 nails, a color for a doctor, a student, a soldier, and here's where you can help me. I just can't decide what color you should paint a dead child. Thank you. Something slightly different. This is from Lost Decades. It's called Between Worlds. He undresses to excess in the mess of their own making, yet exposed is disposed of the life they were faking. Legs up the wall, toes to the ceiling, one glittery heel scattered on the floor. They are just a vessel for your lust, drifting between worlds, hired, not owned. You could be anyone, and but he wanted you to be everyone and everything and someone so magnificent, so rebellious, so different, that when this decadent little trip was over, she was not back where he started, suddenly conscious of others looking like he's art hanging in a vintage room. Stockings, a single heel, oil paint dripping from the waist down. Are they aghast or curious? Aghast or curious? He's perplexed to realize that the voyeurs know what to take from this journey, somewhat more than she. Thank you. Screens turn black. We turn to Spotify. Blank sheets of paper spell out resistance will not die. Dissent lashed to the Catherine wheel of state TV, limbs crushed, but how it sparkles beautifully. Each disciple of our mutiny condemned on every channel, while one lies immutably in state. Hail the nation's grandmother, wrapped in a warm casket of soft misogyny, finally absolved of all responsibility for the crippling winter energy bills that were coming to her 6 homes and 30 regal estates. Clear the homeless from the people queuing, keep the optics going, renew the inequality. Like cats prolong the torture when they'll kill it anyway. Dissent teared limb from limb and use what's left as fuel. Keep the bills down, throw them bones with sinews on. We'll keep the finer cuts. And while you're dying, sing, God save the King. Sing it louder, stand your lifeless body taller, fix your eyes on heaven as celestial Lizzie rises, scrape your jaws from the floor. It ain't cheap heat in stables. They call that MP's 6 grand Zahawi for the taxpayers' cash he stashed away to keep horses and the bales of stacked straw warm. A genuine mistake he promised to repay one day. He could just apologize, not get down before a judge and grovel like you and me. The establishment's a different kettle of fish, you see, and make sure you get a new kettle. It will save you money if you can outlive the next few winters and don't get gunned down unarmed like Chris Cabba. Watch Sky News describe protesters marching in as mourners filing in. Listen to King Charles III curse his leaking pen because that's when life gets shit for them. Lead the food banks into mourning and respectfully the poor can choose to starve or freeze to death. You know the media doesn't work for you, but don't wait for them to come for you before you say enough. That performative grief for an old person dying clouds the memory of that young man whose mother is crying, coerces our consent when your body language is screaming no. Don't write abolish monarchy or not my king. You can now be arrested for that kind of thing. Don't be ill on Monday. Don't even try. Out of respect for Her Majesty, you can go and fucking die. Don't speak ill of the dead. Don't be a shit when you're alive. The 12 million notes that stopped your son from frying, the police act that stops real people defying, the jewels that you ransacked from India, Egypt, Barbados, South Africa, Kenya, and Fiji. We're very much not a racist family. Now Mama and Papa are dead. And Lord Mountbatten was a hero, not a prototype for Prince Andrew. And in the islands of the southern seas, that one-time British colony, thank God the world did not see you as you saw them. The Diamond Jubilee Tour, Duke and Duchess, I've got the merch, held aloft on portable thrones, didn't even cross your noble minds. How bright your whiteness shone, how very much not people of color you're fucking riding on. Thank you.
What can I say? Give it up for Stevie. So, unfortunately, we did have a dropout today due to illness. But they're an incredible poet, and they still deserve their stuff to be heard. So, I'm going to do a little introduction, and then I'm going to read their poem myself, if that's all right. So this is M. M is a mediocre bartender. They wrote this, not me. and a queer artist. They're new and upcoming in the Manchester scene. Their work explores their experience of PTSD, the struggles of gender identity, and the queer experience, and just how weird and confusing life can be most of the time. So a little trigger warning for this one. There is a mention of self-harm. Pink and blue. If we were colours, she'd be pink and I blue. Not solely and simply because she is woman and I something different, but because when I look at her, I see the sky at dusk. I see Mother Nature itself and all she had imagined for us. She is pink because she is the sun, illuminating every room she enters. Divine femininity, she is perfectly small, unassuming, quiet. A tender smile, soft lips, pink cheeks, her delicate steps across the room, a comfortability in her step I could only dream of. She is pink because when she walks, her feet don't falter. She knows where she sits in the world. She is bright, and she is to love and to be loved. She is pink because she is not consumed by jealousy and rage. Her smile is genuine, and her laugh holds no pain. She's pink because she has followed the rules, followed them willingly because they fit her agenda, assigned female at birth, no diversions, no excursions on a different path. She's pink because she knows what's underneath, and she is happy with where it's placed. She is happy with womanhood and all it has to bear, childbearing, lacy bras, painted toenails, peach blush, makeup, high heels, wedding dresses, wedding bells. It isn't hell to her. The dresses she buys will always fit, always skate perfectly over every inch and curve of her body. She is pink because, ironically, she is the blueprint, the mold within which we all aim to fit. She is pink because she is standards I never seem to reach. She's pink because she's on billboards, she's plastered on screens, she's Bond girls, runway models, and everything beautiful in between. She is pink when she wakes, she is pink when she sleeps, she is pink when she's held by you, she is pink when she holds you too. She's pink when she's lonely, she's pink when she's loved, and she'll be pink until the very end. She's pink. I am blue. Because I am none of those things. I am suffering to loathe and be loathed. I am the hate you have for yourself hidden in my eyes. I am a rock, hard, cracked, brittle, and broken, thrown into a quarry, breaking things on my descent to the bottom because I cannot keep myself from damaging everything in my path. I am the quarry itself. Because I am vast and empty. I am blue because no matter how far you reach inside, there is nothing in there for you to find. Blue because I do what I'm told and still can't get it quite right. Blue like the bruises and scars and cuts and blood I have been left with and given to others. I am blue because my gift to you is only ever self-destructive. Blue because my desires are riddled with shame and confusion. Blue because I want to love like pink, be in love with pink. I am blue because love for blue doesn't exist yet. I am blue because I do not understand the reflection, the person through the looking glass. Blue because when I see my own smile, my laugh, and my heart, I feel blue because I know not of the girl and the joy she imparts. I am blue because I long for a different form, maybe one like pink. Blue because when I look at her, I want to know how she thinks. Blue because I do not understand my place in this world. Blue because I want to be ripped and I want to be torn. Blue because I desire change, desire to be something else every day. Blue because I cannot even stick to one terrible vice. Blue because I cannot even cut myself right. Blue because I choose love for the others over love for myself. Blue because I do not believe the words of love whispered in my ear in the dead of night. Blue because those words should be whispered to pink instead. Blue because no words were ever said by the people who should have meant it. Blue because when they said those words to pink instead, it's confusing why I am blue. You're upset that I am blue, but maybe if you'd loved a little harder and been a little kinder to blue, I wouldn't want to be pink. But nevertheless, I desire to be pink, make you happy and be pink. Don't stand like that or talk like that. Sit still, stay quiet and be pink. But the closest I can get is fucking purple, and I'm beginning to fear I might be colorblind. Give it up for them! So if you're listening out there and you're tuning in, I hope I did you all right there. But it's a beautiful poem, and I'm so glad I got to share it with everyone tonight. Next up, we have an act who's actually in the room right now, so you won't have to listen to me again. Goodnight the Sky is an award-winning, I wanted to say amazing because they are amazing, but the bio is award-winning poet and spoken word artist. They write about mosh pits, monsters, and the people who love them. They recently performed as a headline act for my experimental open mic night Bone Down, and they blew the crowd away with their ethereal presence and expertly crafted way with words. Let's give it up. Goodnight the Sky. Woo!
Am I going to be tall enough? Oh, I'm tall enough. That never happens. Blame the heels. I think like a lot of queer people recently, I've been pushed to write newer, uglier stuff. So this isn't super polished yet. It's called Quilted Cannibal. Liking Manu is a punishable offence. Even joking about it, liable to win you a long stay wedged between backstep and coal shed with nothing but the seeping cold for company. Here, in her island of countryside, we are hemmed in on 3 sides by suburbia, spend Saturdays learning to be masters of our little universe, scrappy, shrewd, and self-sustaining. Stoking January fires with limbs from August cherry trees, store homemade biscuits in ice cream tubs that are older than us, pack chalk dust into Pringle lids if you want to keep finger painting. When I am old enough, I help Grandma feed scraps of Sunday dinner chicken to the garden hens. I do this with one eye squeezed shut with disgust until she tells me, gently, it's okay. They lack the capacity to even know that they are doing something wrong. Sometimes I'm relieved she passed away before I realized I wasn't straight. Some days I set the table and think about the limits of her pity, the clean plate club she enforced with military precision. It would be too easy to say that when I swallowed her sugared, sacred hatred and went back for seconds, she was actually feeding me pieces of myself, but tell me why I can't stop thinking about the chickens. How she said the fat in the flesh would make their feathers shiny. How the torment of this act was not for them to carry, that there is a penance that comes when you know what is truly best. I wonder how hungry I would have to be to decide that devouring my slaughtered siblings was preferable to starving at the table, and I am grateful that I will never know the answer. In her kitchen, she had a sign above the stove that said, "The way to a grandchild's heart is through their stomach." I wonder if she ever saw through to the truth that simmered there. Wrote it off as just another adolescent bellyache when I wrote this poem. I left the bad parts in so nothing was wasted. I hope that is what she would have wanted. I never meant to rob her of her pride, but when I kiss girls in crowded places or bind my chest too tight, I savor the taste of my heart in my throat, always take more than I am hungry for when I watch the football or feed the neighbor's chickens. My body fills with pity, unbidden. After all, she lacked the capacity to even know that she was doing something wrong. Cheers. Okay, so this is not just a new thing for this event, but just a very new thing for me. Me and my friend Greg have been friends for a long time and both poets, and we realized recently that we have something quite important in common, and we wanted to express that via poetry. It's about being goth. I'm kidding. It's about gender stuff. So I'm going to invite Greg up to do a gender poem with me. They will get a proper introduction in a minute. This poem doesn't have a title yet. You ready?
Hello.
Good. Okay. The first time a friend correctly genders you in a room full of strangers, you will understand why we were once called Fae. That singular they, a hand unfurled into the outside world. Invite to break the mushroom circle, to join the whirling figures moving under moonlit myrtle in this dance we play with glance and syllable.
The second you set down the script and make your grand debut, you will know what it means to be inhabited by the muse. The world's a stage and it is all play, but the roles were made up on the day and you can step in and out of them as you please.
You know, it's strange. For a straight man, I've never been particularly threatened by you.
I used to think that was a compliment. Now I see it was really a dismissal, pointing out that straight's not safe and I can't make that different. You know what's weird?
I feel most like a woman when everything about me is fake. I used to practice talking transatlantic in the drinks cabinet glass, vowels that rolled and frothed like old movie diner talk, pop. I went to sleep and longed to wake a villain. Trailing boa soaked in derision, enough grease paint to eliminate the parts of me that wouldn't catch the light the right way. The only girls I wanted to be when I grew up were drag queens or dead.
My gender is a thing which crawled out of the closet, snuck into my bed, made love to my girlfriend, and fucked off again. Present in the throes of passion, but too timid to face the light of day.
Go into the cave mouth looking for answers, and my gender will shout back. My gender is not true black. This void is not a vacuum. It is a thing with fangs.
My gender is found in the footnotes of a presentation on hypermasculinity in superhero media.
My gender is Occam's razor, posed by a really high philosopher. I found it by eliminating everything else.
My gender is affirmed at once by oversized weaponry, foppish megalomaniacs, and the sound of an unexpected contralto.
My gender is a Cure song, heard 100 years from now. It would be freaking out your kids if it wasn't too obscure to know about.
My gender is the key to a door I did not know was unlocked.
My first role was Francis Fryer in Calamity Jane. A cross-dressing vaudevillian whose wig is ripped away on stage. My dance teacher said, no one could play a man playing a woman better than me. I went home elated and panic-stricken, wondering how she could see me better than the mirror or my family.
The first time a friend called me queer, I wanted to leave. It felt like being handed an invite to a party I'd already gatecrashed. I had done far too much internet introspection for this bullshit. I stuck around, though, to see what would happen. And look where that's gotten me.
My gender will help yours pick out miniskirts, encourage you to wear the higher heels, then take you dancing, because that's the best way to learn how to walk in anybody else's shoes.
My gender will teach yours to take up more space, with D&D ensure that play will always have its place, and craft a place in which yours knows it will always be safe. My gender will make yours walk tall, and call you king as given.
My gender will always listen, even when it does not understand. I will lend you my good jewelry and my sword-wielding hands.
To cut you free when you find yourself in the thickets of doubt.
To lead the charge if the mob dares to jeer too loud.
I will see you even when the mirror doesn't.
I will come running if there's no one else to tell.
Take the parts that you've discarded and give you mine as well.
You'll have a place at every table.
A hat by every door.
From best non-man at the wedding
to the final coffin tour.
Call this shapeshifter solidarity. Call this home away from home.
Call this found gender regalia.
Call it mine.
Call it yours.
Call it not alone. Cheers.
That was extremely special, and I'm so glad we're all in the room for it. Little introduction for Greg before they bring in their set. Greg is a teacher and a poet who combines the flair and form of 19th century romantics with an unexpected pop cultural twist. The first time I came across Greg was at our first ever Bone Down event and stood against the backdrop of the dramatic Yorkshire landscape in a circle of tea-light candles surrounded by poets and poetry lovers. It was such a romantic night, I'll never forget it. Greg is magnetic, extravagant, mystical, and just a little current, and you're going to absolutely love him. Give it up for Greg!
I call upon powers from places unseen and beings from beyond this plane. I ask of thee now to answer my plea, and after to forget my name. The mystic chanted, as all manner of vapours lifted from the bubbling waters which surrounded them. The past few days had been particularly vexing, and all other remedies had been attempted. Peering through the haze, the mystic began to count the candles throughout the room, each carefully placed for total potency. The hypnotic nature of the counting began to take effect, and the chant began again. By the eternal echoes of Evermore and the tentacled terrors of tomb, with all the swiftness of silence fall, exit me out from this room. With a gut-churning immediacy, The world fell away. The mystic's body lost itself, and their mind discovered new ways in which to somersault. Visions of star trail constructs littered the kaleidoscopic expanse. Here, in this uncharted infinity, the mystic breathed a sigh of relief. They had found a moment of peace. Billy noticed the headline as she walked past the newsagents. Captain Fantastic saves city. Ugh. Gripping her satchel strap tighter, she picked up the pace. It had been 2 years since she had found the alien crash site and took on ownership of the Fantastibands. She felt their weight on her wrists beneath the 2 sizes too large hoodie, which it now felt necessary to wear. People would swoon at the pictures on the front page of a figure twice Billy's age with bulging muscles and a pristine smile. Her tongue ran underneath her lips, resting on the filling she'd just had redone. Discomfort turned to pain as a stranger on the street collided with Billy and she crashed to the ground. Ah, fuck. Billy had bitten her tongue on impact and could feel the hot liquid smearing her teeth. The stranger apologized and held out a hand to help her up. Billy froze as she saw the t-shirt they were wearing, the smug face of Captain Fantastic looking down at her with that stupid grin. No matter what Billy did, no matter what she told herself, she knew the truth. That wasn't her. A fist, clad in iron, struck the arm of the oaken throne upon which the would-be king reclined. "I have been denied for too long," his mechanical voice echoed through the halls. This was the 13th year in a row his plans had been put to ruin. "Fetch me a drink." With the merest motion of his finger, he sent a robed servant scurrying. Moments later, he was clutching a golden goblet and contemplating the red liquid within. As it swirled, he thought back to the hypnotic ray he had spent sleepless nights agonizing over, ensuring every detail was perfect, eliminating all possibility of failure. Yet, when the time came, it was overcome, just like every contraption before it. The damned despot drank, wine dripping down his faceplate and onto his fur-lined robes. The servants did not breathe. Silence was broken only by the rumbles of thunder and the blazing fires of the nearby village, direct results of the metallic monarch's frustration. He plucked a ruby from the goblet and held it up to the light of the braziers. Braziers? I've never known how to pronounce that word. Every year, I would make that contemptible captain my consort, and every year his accursed family wrest him from my clutches. His fingers began to tremble. But no more. It shall be Valentine's Day again, and I shall claim victory no matter the cost. The ruby lay, crushed to a fine powder, in his lap. Thank you.
That's absolutely wonderful. Something a little bit further afield now, not really a Leeds-based poet, but one that's come all this way for us because they're amazing. Alice is a Pushcart-nominated poet inspired by women and witchcraft. Her collection, The Book of Seeing Past the Shadows, comes out this month, and they've actually got it with them. A part of the Ben Key roster, Alice sparkles on stage, bringing a witchy air of enticement with them everywhere they go. You'll be seeing their face a lot more in the coming months with the release of this collection, so we're so lucky to have them here with us tonight. Please welcome Alice!
Hi, so this is my book. It's called The Book of Seeing Past the Shadows because for me, poetry has really been magic. Partly I kind of lent into the witchy thing because I'm just kind of a spooky bitch. But partly it is not really faking it, it's just that I do think poetry is magic. And the first poem in this collection kind of gets at why I think poetry is magic. Because every poem in here is a spell, they will come with a list of ingredients, but the ingredients might not be what you're expecting. This is ritual sacrifice for telling the truth. You will need an altar, preferably somewhere public, a knife, metaphorical, the acceptance that you may or may not be understood. It's pulling your internal organs from their internal spaces to be left as offerings on a rock. You lay your liver, grown thick with feelings for crows or doves to feast, or instead leave viscera smeared on hard stone, drying under autumnal heat, your self-imposed retribution for catching fire. Comb out arteries and nerves, untangled like angel hair, coated in glossy and thick red sauce, ventricles cracked open and hollowed before growing back anew tomorrow. Thank you. So for me, the real magic in poetry is that it kind of helps you express yourself in ways that you didn't even know. And for me, I'm like, how am I feeling? I'm going to write about it. Oh, that's how I'm feeling. Okay. This next one is pretentious as fuck, I'm sorry. But it's called Ritual to Summon Charybdis, brackets, a spell for stillness. And Charybdis is a mythological creature that was essentially just a whirlpool in the sea that they decided was this kind of evil feminine presence, and there were all of these myths for why she was there and all of that. Just a whirlpool, but I felt very seen by this whirlpool. So that's the point of this poem, I guess. You will need a fig tree, that's part of the myth, a body of water, preferably the Strait of Messina, although this is not required. Again, that's the myth. I'm sorry, pretentious, I told you. And for your fist to unclutch for even one moment. You find her sat on the seafloor, crouched and tree-tied, boughs stood upright and figs blooming amidst the rocky mental terrain. Chained and thirsty among the undersea currents, she gulps that sweet salt water away thrice. The daughter of Poseidon and Gaia drinking away the Messina. And so she becomes her own aftermath. Girl no longer, only hungry water, creature, maelstrom, a growling cycle, spiraling or wet gaping more. I'm her. Bound and here thoughts spin, whirl like the surface looming, giddy and hungry as the chaos above, so thirsty beneath the rain she'll drink the whole sea. Spin it like my racing mind, please. Slow the currents and riptides irresistible, the trapped and hungry vortex ready to consume. Please, lay me down. Spread underneath you as if you're the ocean and I the seabed. Bed me, spread, unfold me below you, thirsty and yearning. Please, slow me, plunge into my Caribbean depths. Stop sea wheels that spin to places of frozen panic. Free that tree-chained undersea creature, let her be bathed by the deluge. And deluge me. I am ravenous, raving, greedy, a screaming ravine ready to consume your grasp. A phalanx attacking, military rank pressing on into the sea, far in the depths, grasping and feeling, swimming and pushing and diving, consumed, drowning in thirst, clutching, make full and sated, panting, then breathing, a hand on arm, thigh on waist, resting, and the sea shakes, is still. Thank you.
So, if you enjoyed what you just heard, make sure you pick up a copy of the book. It's available from Waterstones or the Benki website. You should definitely grab a copy because it's amazing. I can't wait to get mine. Next up, we have a poet who is one of my favorites, one of my great friends. They are a Leeds-based queer poet whose work explores the politics of personal experience and the strangeness of the everyday. After wowing attendees as the Spotlight Poet at Leeds Poetry Festival's open mic On the Mic this month, Eve, or Evelyn Lizard, is sure to be a face you're going to remember. Pulling from the history of the queer elders as well as contemporary issues, Eve tackles technology, love, discrimination, and a hell of a lot of frogs. They're a member of the Bone Down Literary Affinity Group, and though she's young, Eve is definitely about to make a name. Please welcome Evelyn Lizard!
Hello, everyone. Hi, yep, I'm Eve. I feel bad about the intro because I'm not going to read the frog poem today. But yeah, I'm going to try something new for this first poem. I have never read a poem from memory before, and I've really chosen my moment to do it because this is really scary. But I'm going to try. I've been trying to just memorize things and see if that opens up new possibilities for expression in performing. So this first poem is one I usually close my sets with, but it's quite a sad one. So in service of like queer joy and the like, I'm going to read it first so that we can kind of get happier as we go along. So this is This Suburb Dysphoric. Ghosting around the village where you learn to speak feels like dredging up spirits, maligned and empty. The twin dead stares of retirees from across the park field. Now who let you walk around this place in a skirt? This place with its closed doors and its open secrets, anti-lockdown stickers that line the post boxes until keyed off by a friend's indignant youth culture. And now I've forgotten the rest of it, okay. Let me just remind myself. Sorry, I should have known this would go wrong, but nope, I'm going to finish this poem. The houses like brickwork in a pattern of uniconformity to stay just the same as always, a little too far from the urban sprawl to care about anything except the next Tory X in a box come general election day. This is going terribly. You know what, let's do the rest from my phone, let's stop being stubborn. Anyway. Walk up to Tesco and grab a meal deal. Walk back and swear never to leave the house again this summer. How many times across the field with the dog, or down that hill on the scooter with dad? A patchwork of ghost lines, tracing the places you've been, used to be, trails blazed through these suburb lanes. Like a child crossing roads again, spacing out and wondering what life is like in the real world, which you'll find out soon enough when you go away to the uni that someone else's money buys. A coda for strangeness and for no longer belonging in a place where no one belongs. Alienated forever by Anglo-Southern Gothic, the suburb dysphoric. Thank you. So yeah, that was an experiment. I'm glad I did that, but I'm going to be reading the rest off my phone because I don't want that to happen again. So this second poem is a new one that I have just written. It's a tribute to Marceline the Vampire Queen from one of my favorite TV shows ever, Adventure Time. Yeah, this poem is called Vampire Queen. In childhood, my screens were filled with gay vampires, bloodsuckers who sucked up space and sucked out what the world denied from them. Marceline, I watched you grow larger in your rage, more monstrous every time you were wronged, like a real woman. I saw you love all that was pink and bubbly, yet keep your strength still sharpened, shaped into a battle axe base, 4 strings of inherited vampiric femininity. So funny how I too grew up a sapphic bassist, and now my writers have decided, I guess, that like you, my queerness can be more than just implied. And now I suck blood, hopefully enough to live, and enough to give the life to all who I love. And come along with me is an invitation to share. Thank you. So this next poem is one of those poems that you write and then you go, what the fuck did I just do? Which is fun. It's a little bit longer, and I would give it a light content warning for body horror, but it's lighthearted and very silly, I promise. So this is one-stop swap shop, or defiling the culturally sacred institution of the binary sexed body for fun and profit. You can have my boobs. I don't want them. And as if by magic, a giant pair of scissors appears from the sky and snips off everything you hate from your body and gives it all to me. It's a deal, equivalent exchange. Caring means sharing, so please donate any skin and or bone you can spare. We've always sighed, if only it worked that way. In that imaginary future, I'd say, now if we were really friends, it follows you'd let me chop off my dick and graft it onto you. It's a gift. A far future Craigslist ad. 19, trans female, seeking generous donor for a gynoid alchemy of flesh for the advancement of science. Autogynophile down your body and let me have it. I, cyberfemme. Kind of transphobic of you not to, really. You thought Buffalo Brill was brutal? Now step into my shop, we're doing parts, service, repairs on the daily, bodies like broken dolls which I thread together. Is this the end goal? Transhumanism. I don't know if the sanctity of the gendered body could survive such depravity. Or just remember, Frankenstein was the doctor, not the monster. Whatever that means. If you're scared, I guess we've won. For now, I guess it's just a bit of fun between friends. You can still have my dick, though, if you want it, I guess. Thanks. So I've got 2 more poems. One of the last one is a lot shorter. The first of the penultimate poem I'm going to be reading. This one is about hormones and the joyous bodily autonomy of using them to alter your own body. This poem is called Replacement. 2 steps of the morning routine. 1, deodorize my armpit where the stink comes out, right next to my slowly growing boobs. There is a boy trapped in there. I have him captive. He is crying help because in a couple months the room will fill with gull smell, a deadly misandro neurotoxin. 2, hormone my shoulder skin scattered with mud cracks because I've gotten soft and dry as scorched earth, destroying anything useful to the enemy boy. Soft as tap water flowing gel that irrigates the soil, maybe yields crops, farms fruit from fertile breast buds, fills the gaps, but not a patch on my mum, who has patches sewn onto her gender, while I tried to patch mine up. Her menopausal embroidery, whose tapestry it's doubtful my threads will weave within, though it's different, I knit with flesh, digging patterns between the cracks of my shoulder skin, casting the cast-off remains into the refuse armpit, where my poison kills their past. So whether in kidnap of an old self or farming to grow a new one, every morning I'm softening into replacement. Thank you. So this is my last poem. It's a very short middle finger of a poem. This poem is about being a trans lesbian. It's called Double Venus Tattoo. Loving women is a statement on my fingers or on my collarbone, even though sometimes they aren't women, and sometimes I'm not, depending on who you ask. A tattoo doesn't come off unless they laser it, and they might laser us one day if they get tired of killing us subtly, just blast us all off the island with 5,000 volts of misappropriated suffragette white, purple, green power. Side note, how fitting that a historic symbol of white upper-class fake radical feminism would become a modern symbol of white upper-class fake radical feminism. But for love, we'll still have our double Venus fingers in their double Venus daughters, because trans girls own the double Venus tat too. Thank you.
I told you she'd be good, didn't I? Next up, Dalton Harris is a trans man and poet. His debut autobiographical poetry collection, The Boy Behind the Wall, shows us the geography of gender through a lifetime of traveling and reflects on his time in a female prison. Dalton is magnetic. He's a serious player in the Leeds poetry scene, but he's also one of the most friendly, welcoming, and supportive poets you'll ever meet. Fresh from one of the biggest nights in the Leeds poetry calendar, Blur the Lines, he's going to blow you away. Dalton!
I think you've bigged me up too much. I'm gonna falter now. Yeah, I talk a lot about prison, and I just think there's a lot of experiences that are still happening now in prison with my friends that I think this needs to be said. So it's called Identity. Trigger warnings: suicide, self-harm. What is identity? Doors so thick it binds the chest you hide so you can't breathe. Define me by numbers, a sign that says female estate. I can't deny I'm here, but I'm just visiting. Yet still I see the dirt tracks of ghosts walking in rows. The smell of death, like somehow that was the only way to ever be free. What is identity? Identify me in society's hollow walls where no one hears you cry, in towels given, used and repeated in a system that deals with mass incarceration. This blue towel in my hand that I leave the streaks in, my sobs, my grief, my guilt, my past. I could wring it out, tear it in half in anger, but I sit with this feeling that stretches across from hand to hand. I look and I wonder in the middle of my pain, in the pinnacle of my fallen tears, if anyone used this as a noose to stop theirs. I throw it aside and it coils round like a viper in the room. I feel the poison. I taste it on my lips. What is identity? The system is they, them. I am the boy behind the wall, and the sign says, female estate. Thank you. I've only just getting to the part of my transition where I'm finally being accepted for how I've always seen myself. So all through prison, I got called Miss every day, and when I got out, I thought, oh, it's going to be different, but it just kept happening. So this was a poem about that journey. It's called Leave the Third Exit en route. I was born to a room full of cheers, Christmas morning dawning, crawling out into the world. Hurled into the light, the first mistake, set in steel, a bouncing baby girl, they said. Met society in white lace, and wheeled in a cream wagon for all to see. Felt nothing but splinters. A Trojan horse sent to Troy. Just a toy, I smile for approval. The second mistake, forged in iron cast, the Iron Age begins with a golden fleece of mopped hair, a mane of rich curls like corn in sunrise, reaching little hands up to claim my mother's breast. I want to grow. In all this perfection, rejection breeds in me like leeches sickly feeding, unaware how many have latched on. I forgot to take in the view. Look around till I find a piece of me I can count on. Along the path to adulthood, blurring, turning back was not an option. Lost in chunks of armor, now impacted. I spent 22 years putting in a flag in society's checkpoints of fears. Hear me. Look at me. But I was just another boy who put my finger in a dike to stop the water coming out. I kept on walking. Never stopped to look in one place in case I was found out. Chasing the future in dreams of the past, black mist and charcoal, shaded in murals of what I had left in pride. Hide, hide. A lie defined my third mistake. Am I too late? What's the time? Lining up in queues, lost time in a minute, now it's 5, 38 years to plant a flag, to leave the exit at youth's heeded approval and become a man. Thank you. I got out of prison, so it wasn't all bad. I ended up in a female hostel in Leeds. That's how I ended up here. And all the girls that I met, everybody that I sort of lost along the way, this is about them. And it's my time in the hostel, and it's called On the Out. 1 week sees 1 death. 2 weeks see 4 more recalls. Someone OD'd on the floor. Eyes so glazed like an animal stuffed in a museum hall. A month, a girl on my floor, handcuffed and screaming in a drunk rage. She's pushed into a van, it's a dawn raid. A stark warning to all those who question their place on the out. with celebratory liquid treats to mark the occasion. The week after, I'm met with spitting rage by the vagrant drug dealer that recognizes I'm from the same place. Some girl swapped a rock for her phone. Now she needs to pay. The week after, she's not going out, and I'm left walking the long way. A day off 2 months, and she's loaned out too much, and I see recall after recall, and I wonder how she hung on this long, while rehabilitated shoplifters ask me if I want some expensive aftershaves. 2 months and a day, I replay my friend's suicide, while the voices inside her mind leave only death to snatch her away. I bump into them, casually. Handfuls of absconds drift out like tides, outside parks or pharmacies and job centres, saying hi but looking worse for wear, laughing but today's a tooth missing, weight loss and a black eye. Drunk men standing nearby, questioning my concerned voice. 3 months and I hear they're back inside, doing fine, just saying hi. Like distant memories of childhood, lost daydreams, wondering how anyone ever makes it out there, it's crazy. Well, I try to remind myself that I'm doing okay. That 5 months are seen with clear eyes, not robbed in streets by random acts, but face beat, but strangely don't call the police. I see 6 months without sitting in dark, dirty dens, hidden by respectable street signs, in rooms designed to take your youth, your money, and your life. I wonder in a year if some will have made it here, without using prison as respite, without losing their life, without paper licenses keeping them right. I wonder if they stand and say, on the out is better than in here. On the out is worth all my tears. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing that. It was absolutely wonderful to hear. Next up, we have a bit of a big name in the house, actually. We have the founder of Bentkey Publishing. Rebecca Kenny writes about life, love, and the boring bits of existence that make her feel something. Rebecca is the heart and soul of the Northern poetry scene, with a fierce advocacy of neurodivergent, disabled, queer, and marginalised voices. She balances the business side of running a small press with genuine care and compassion. Her poetry is award-winning, and her performance is incredible, winning her titles and slams and her name's on lineup in like almost every poetry night in Manchester. Please, 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 give up for Rebecca Kenny!
I never know what I'm going to read at these things, so we're all in for a surprise. If you promise to stay alive just a little bit longer, I swear we will paint the world silver, and we will shower cities with gold leaf and glitter, stomp through empty streets singing 90s rap songs and leaving muddy prints in gutters, and we will drink bars dry, dancing on tables and kicking life in its face as we howl upwards to a glowing moon. We will sit in empty cinemas, down in fizzy pop and eating salty popcorn, your hand in mine, and I will sneak glances at you and remark upon your jaw and how you wear tattoos so bloody well, and you will smile and be really glad that you are alive. Afterwards, we will breathe in the smell of fresh tarmac from the roadworks, and you will joke about leaving a footprint. For a minute or two, we'll consider it, but then we'll jib it off for beers in that nice garden that you like. We will mimic the pigeons and stuff ourselves with carbohydrates and literature, and the sun will shine. All you have to do is stay alive just a little bit longer. Thank you. This is a love poem. Do you remember the first time that we danced? Because I do. Your hair was coarse against my palms, and I remember that your breath was sweet with that unmistakable tang of citrus. Your eyes were glitter balls all themselves, and they shot stars into my soul as I tried not to think about your hand in that part of my back that I would later chip into pieces. We swayed like a tent in the wind, drunk on ourselves and the uncertainty of what was to come. You, my pleasant and unexpected surprise, holding my gaze as if your pupils were glue, folding my hand into yours like human origami. The melody was Blink 182, My Chemical Romance, brand new. Others would chide us, but we would just laugh in that secret language of shared nostalgia that only true elder emos possess, and the internet generation will never understand. I wore ankle socks with my Doc Martin boots, no stilettos here. You were my Blackpool Tower, and you were luminescent. My t-shirt was black, but the letters across my chest were rainbow-hued, and that is us. Darkness and light, complementary colors. You held me, and I inhaled you, and it was glorious. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that, and it ends me. I melt into myself on the thought of the smell of your hair. It is just a complete shame that it never really happened. Thank you. So last year I nearly died. I was in a car crash, and it was a bad one. I held up the entire town of Southport for about 4 hours. So that's an achievement. So this poem is one that I wrote during my recovery, and I call it Elephant Juice because it's about being in love with life, even the rubbish bits. See if I can get through it. I want to feel everything. Every single little moment, every fragment and shard of existence. I want my lungs to burn with the strain of containing all of this experience. Fill me with sorrow until I feel like I am drowning. Wrench my heart from my chest with sharpened claws before replanting with a softened palm. Pull me apart limb by limb and then stitch me back together. Just make sure that it's with threads of leather because I want to feel everything. Coat me in diamonds and put me on display, or tuck me inside a coat pocket and hide me away. Bring me dismay on a silver platter. Destroy all the confidence I have that I might matter. In fact, go one better and try to deny me that fuel that I need, that I use and that inspires me, and watch how I burn anyway. Brighter than fireworks, because what's for me will not go by me. And yes, sometimes life hurts, but I want to feel everything. I want to know the searing pain of loss and then feel it juxtaposed, and I want to feel the joy of sunshine pressing on my back, the intense fear that comes with loving you or with losing you. The crack of bones, the smash of glass, the taste of wine, the smell of grass. I want to feel I had a chance and did it all both clean and crass. I want to feel everything. So give me everything you've got. Send me life's gut punches. Serve me tea scalding hot. Don't tell me to stop, try to tell me to stop. Let me feel the fear of losing and the thrill of being top and the thrill of being topped as well, I suppose. Take me for dinner and treat me to roses. Pose with me in toilet mirrors. Reject all my proposals. Be at my beck and call and have me there at your disposal because I want to feel everything. I want to drink that coffee that's been shit out by weasels and smoke joints in bars in Bali and confront my inner evil on a warm September night. And I would like to go medieval in the bedroom and then go to a reenactment and drink some mead beneath a blood moon. And I want to drink you in. I want to taste your sweat. I want to feel the types of feelings I'll never forget. So duet with me on drunken nights and kiss me on the neck because I want to feel everything. I want to breathe the whole world in, and I want to fly, and I want to fall, and I want to coat myself in sin, and I want to pull you into me until we melt together in the most delicious fuck-up that the world could ever revel in. I want to cry, I want to laugh, I want to let both God and the devil in, and I want to sing myself to sleep and feel this earth's benevolence. I want to feel everything. Just that, nothing more. I'd like a wild buffet of feelings parked outside my brain's back door. I want to sample every colour that this rainbow has to offer. And I want to feel my aura change. I want to know I made a dent in this timeline's page. I want to feel everything. So please, take my soul. I trust you to destroy it and to then replace it whole. Break me down to atoms and then turn me into coal. Take me from my prime and rip me a new arsehole and crush me till I become diamond. Take me down to hell and I'll come back because I know I'll always find me. And at the end of all of this, there's just one thing to say, a pronouncement or an announcement, as I should declare today. I want to feel everything. Absolutely everything, and I am ready to feel everything. So come on, I want it all. Thank you.
If you're listening in, you can't see, but I spent a lot of time doing my eye makeup today, and I just ruined that by crying at that poem. So we'll ignore that for everyone in the room, and I'm going to welcome our last performer for tonight. Lauren Lepton is a writer of self-reflection, politics, life and death. Not shying from discomforts in favor to experience them, Lauren is a remarkable poet with the best accent you'll have ever heard. They're incredibly insightful and balance a mastery of the written word with a unique perspective that will have you seeing issues in a whole new light. Please, everyone, welcome Lauren.
There's someone's phone here. Don't want to look at your naughty photos. So do I have time to do 4, maybe? I guess? Yeah. Doesn't matter. So my poems, I don't do, just to let you know, I don't really do content warnings because I kind of feel that a lot of content warnings can actually stifle what people can say or what they're allowed to say because it makes people uncomfortable. And my spoken word thing kind of makes people uncomfortable because it kind of makes you look at yourself, who you are, where you're around, who you're with. So that's kind of my content warning, that you might have to look inwards just a wee bit. Also, I swear a bit, so. So this first one is called City of Dull Numbers. This came about when I used to work at a charity shop, and a person from the council, fuck you Leeds Council, but the person from there said that they had a meeting about the homeless people. This was about 6 years ago. And they said in the meeting that there was only about 5 or 6 homeless people in Leeds, which we all know that's a bit of a fucking joke now, don't we? So anyway, this poem came about that. This is called City of Dull Numbers. This city is a virtue signal, smudging away the truths. False coffers overflow streets with the midnight skin wandering through. It doesn't get easy seeing the stairs overlooking ones that need a hand. Instead of bones brandished out, warmth should be given with no problem to give. No worry is found up top. Lies of the suit double-seamed. Numbers move in favor of the coin that buys guilt in spades. Built on blood of the poor, sinewed noise emanates beneath feet, nails crushed and cracked to nothing, no recollection seen to the matter. Eyes glaze to self-worth, numbers dulled to pacify, dulling to sleep of restrained regret, bubbles scoffed to free pain. Eyes darting for recognition, hands broken from the remarks, dried until invisible and feared, coppered clinks to fend off. Words tempered for one narrative, brushed under the carpet again, filed away in a dusty cabinet, no paper cuts to care for, only to wipe away. Gloried paper wanted for simple acts, kindness strung with paycheck in mind, camera-strewn facades clipped for view, vying for the shares and digital masturbation. Care not needed if no progression exists, never for one day to give self-love. Continued struggle carries on to the next day, unless you forget to do the part. In a city of dull numbers, begging to live, caring for the papered mask, its tent shell will rip in the end from the masses tackling for change. Thank you. This one is called Only. I guess this is one about, I guess it's kind of like a bit being trans. It's about discovering yourself. If you didn't know, I'm trans, by the way. But it's about discovering yourself, I guess, maybe. A lot of my spoken word poetry is just a lot of my memory just darting around and trying to make sense of a lot of the horse shit that goes on in this world. So this is called Only. It's not a choice. It's only what is real, what is felt, seen, the aroma wistfully permutating the air. It is. It's lived. The starting pistol has long been shot. The race is only but a memory. For the knees cripple at the sight, losing what was won. Medals shall never change hands. To temper yourself means you lose what you have chased for so long. What has been lived? What has been constructed with mental fucking anguish, with robed guilt unthreaded. Tattered cloth hangs around as much as an ability to breathe. Threads catching in the lungs like the driest of dust. Tripping your self-acceptance, falsifying records, replacing a narrative, or so it seems. It shall not be the case. Do not let the threads be replaced to the inferior wants of others, where cheap labor fulfills a selfish intent, devoid of all the outcome. Lessened to a switch broken from ill actions and self-worth, a switch out of favor before the first flick of discontent is had, a switch that is nothing but a queried, scorned joke. A switch looked at as if it is needed to be replaced with no story started. No thanks. I am not your disposable plastic utility, but I am your shining light, your grace of humility, your eater of feared thought, your next catch, your future fuck, your actual self. Thank you. So these next two ones, I've never said these. Actually, this one I'm just about to read, I finished about 10 minutes ago. So these last two, I've never read to anybody, so they might be a little bit patchy. So this next one is about pride, or what kind of pride is now, the stuff that goes on once a year, all that kind of jazz. And this is just my thoughts on pride, and just what it kind of has become. This is called No Longer the Ride from Before. Your semi-hard self doesn't stir safety in the life of freedom, dripping at the tip, waiting for that moment of throbbing bodies, scanning the streets, eyes twitching at the flesh-covered sheet, protection worn with the threat handled at waist height. No thought shown to the glaring error. No act produced to quell the worry. Only built further on, only heightened. Mistrust further placed between the sheets, sullying the threads, fraying the hems, turning to wearable regret. Like the virtue signaled shirt, brandishing false actions against true intent of the labored. Marching through with flat top vibrations, showing the logo of community falseness, feeding off the guilt of the publicized auction house, where the items are cheaply laid out, cracking at the edges, with addiction in full tow, eating away like rust, a handout asked from the lesser earner to bury deep in the dry well, all to show later are tax breaks and no fucks given for 11 months. The protest feels less each year. in favor of virtue signaling horse shit and parties feeding into it. Repeated lines of the past echo again with no thinking to what is happening in the fucking present, shunned aside to make way for asinine cheers, claps, and monetary gain, bleeding the community dry, fucking the already fucked over folk. I feel I'm done with pride. But like an addict, I come back. In the holiest of hopes, it can reset for the better. But it can't just be me that has to shout for change. We all have to. Thank you. Because that poem came about because the very first thing when I went to Pride, and it was my favourite Pride actually, and you probably saw me, I got a bit of a horsey throat from shouting so much, telling the cops to fuck off. But the first thing that I saw, before I saw anybody from my community or anybody that was joining in the festival, were a bunch of police with semi-automatic weapons, and that, I think, is just pretty fucked, to be honest, and not good. Did not make me feel safe. So, this last one is not only my longest one, but it's my most deeply, savagely deeply personal. And it's quite a bit of a long one, did shed a few tears. But at the end of it, please don't clap. I'm actually going to say how this came about as well and why it came out as much as it did. And there's just going to be a lot to this. This is called Don't Live in the Shade. I want to feel the pain to get past it, not shirk away at the first sight in vain hope I'll be safe. Written down, that guarantee is not ironclad and foolish to think it ever will be. Nor do I want to be nestled away, ignoring cold, hard truths or staying at distance from things considered to be wrong. I can't live in a bubble that so many choose, to not hear out another voice pained to the point of tears. Not pay attention to desperate actions taken due to their fears. To ignore the tattered, clothed bodies vying for only a noted glance. Because that bubble will burst at any fucking moment. Then where will you be? Will you continue to drone in the mumbled manner, I just can't? At the first sign, emotion will be signaled. Coddling yourself will only make the cuts deeper and ripe for infection. Sadly, there are so many that can't do that. Such as the person standing here, right in front of you, now. To be born after a miscarriage, hidden away and choked of all air, left with brain damage and no twin to be beside me physically. But I still feel them with me and helping me cope with losing sight rapidly, or when my hearing decided to dull and silence my input, soon reading lips and learning sign. With that memory of teachers hitting me from my cries of supposed lies, smacking me and telling me I'm thick, a liar, and wouldn't amount to anything, dealing with a fucked family, being hit for a fork hitting my teeth when eating, a snap smack for answering something the way they didn't like. Mental anguish and hope whittling away that things would be different, with a brother that took their frustration out on me as well, all because he thought I was the golden child. Far fucking from it. But I took all their shit and didn't tell anyone, staying silent, waiting for the days to change. It came by about age 8. The parents' divorce was still one of my happiest memories. But it let loose demons waiting in line, dealing with neglect and abuse. I know it was hard for my mum and the separation, with a father breaking promises like before, still fucking around like he did when we were a family, until his mother cocked it up and told us by accident. Even without him around, it was still hell. Chased and threatened with a knife around the house to be stabbed to death, locking myself away for hours until time was safe. By the second time, though, I felt more ready for it. I lost count to the amount of beatings my brother gave me, The amount of times he smashed my head against the wall because I said something he didn't fucking like. But he never thought I didn't like his many sordid advances on me. More than likely thinking he can get away with it, which he did for a while. Since nobody seemed to listen, so I kept quiet like I do to this day. My supposed friends never knew. They didn't give an absolute fuck. I never brought up the beatings, the advances, or even his heroin addiction. All through school was a fucking chore. A school that simply punished what they didn't care to understand. By the time I got out, I counted near to 1.5 years of detention. Admittedly, some of that was me being a little shit. But don't you dare shout at me like some mouthy cunt, all because I asked a fucking question. Breath and spit hitting my glasses and face, with a gaping maw smelling like shit has been caught in your throat from lunch break. I burned everything on my last day on their field to rid myself of the putrid stain they smeared, but the addict was still a thought resting in its armchair. Skin popped, veins thinning, items and money missing. When I got out on my own around age 17, I hid myself for so long before, hiding what I knew, what I am now since age 7. Only creeping to my needs when no one could see. I knew if I said something, I would only be told I was wrong, or even beaten or bullied. But I always had my twin with me, keeping me safe. By the time it reached over 15 plus years of this fucking shit, I still kept quiet. I tried telling people, but the care was not given. They either thought I was a liar or simply that they never dealt with any heartache to fully understand. Even bringing up the now non-drugged sibling, getting me involved in murdering someone. He was getting others to do it. In the car, I call him a fucking coward as I drive him to his AA meetings. That night, he attacked me when having a movie and dinner night with our mum invited. He lunged at me when I called him a liar for false and awful lies, grabbing me by the throat, strangling me as our mum tries to get him off of me from the floor, my dog looking so sad and barking. Luckily, I was still holding the glass bowl full of rice from the dinner I made, smashing it right across his head. That got the fucker off of me. I took my lovely dog and went back to Mum's and spilled out all the details of everything. I don't blame her, though, that she couldn't remember all the details, but I'll always remember that that was the first time I truly fought back against him in defense, with my twin still by me. Also, the last I ever spoke to my brother. Still, I choose to be quiet. But it was about 6 years ago now, I finally got to speak to someone. The only person ever met who had a sibling who also killed a family through addiction. Only one. After all this time, there is only one. We spoke for hours and gave each other a hug. I'll never forget that. I finally didn't feel so alone like I was. Even though there is so much more I could say on other things, I won't. But I would never change anything that happened. As painful of a road I've driven and the horrid experiences I've seen and heard, I wouldn't change it. Nor would I ever say to someone else that they shouldn't say something. I want to hear everything. I won't ask you to content warn because I don't want you to keep anything back. I want you to feel safe to talk and express yourself and not feel bad for your life. Neither should others. They should never throw shade on you. You should not fear who you are, what you have seen, what you have felt. Your audience should be by your side, listening, not mending, listening. Life is full of fantastic and beautiful things, and I have been part of so many of them. But you cannot hide away from pain, that pain which tests you. The only way that you can really grow is to have bits of you chipped away in order to move on. So saying to someone, I just can't, is stifling their need to move on and cut those past sores off. So please stay and chip away that pain and move on. So how this came around was I was just in a random cafe at one point and I just saw some students. They looked like they had hope in their eyes. That's how I thought that they were new students. And they were just messing around on their phone, and I just overhear things. And one of the lassies was trying to talk to their friend. This person was a person of color as well, and I kind of had a feeling what they were going to talk about because they said, this person said something to me. And their friend just kind of went, oh no, I just can't do it right now. And I could see the rejection in her face, and that just threw me. And I just thought, you fucking cunt. Like, seriously, you're not going to listen to this person that wants to open up to you all because you're just fucking around on your phone. And I just thought it was disgusting. I've been wanting to write this for a while, but I feel that what is happening more and more with people is that we are closing ourselves off too much from each other. We're choosing to not even talk to people that even we disagree with, and that's fine, you don't agree with them, but they are still people. And they also do have this hurt behind them of the way that they are, whether they vote right or left or in the center. But we seem to be growing apart a bit too much, and I keep on hearing, I just can't, too much. And I think it's just affecting us on such a social level that we are now just glued to our digital fucking masturbation of being online and showing what we kind of are, but really we're not. Anyway, thank you.
And that was Queer House Party. Woo! Thank you all for coming. We've overrun a little bit, so if you want to hear me read, come tomorrow. We're hosting an open mic right here, and it's going to be wonderful. Before that, we'll be holding a workshop on performance skills. Come down. Thank you, Peter, for letting us have this space. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. It's been an absolutely brilliant night, so thanks ever so much for coming, and do come again to Chapel FM. And the next 3 or 4 nights, I think, 3 nights, I can't remember now, I'm losing it. But we've got masses of stuff on, so just come. It's all free. It's here in the evenings, and it's lots and lots of broadcasting too. Thank you so much to the tech people up there, Joe, Elliot, and Finn. Round of applause for them, please. And see you tomorrow. Good night from Writing on Air.
From Seacroft, East Leeds, Leeds, Yorkshire, Europe.